Welcome, everyone. My name is Michael Reardon. I'm a mindset coach, and let's get started. So this is going to be our fifth episode of Coaching in Session. And on Wednesdays, we're going to start talking about books, right? There is a saying you should only have 30 books, right? If you could read 1 or 30 books over and over again, which 30 books would that be? And everyone's going to have a different list. You can talk to Elon Musk. He's going to have a different list than Jeff Bezos. And that is just because different authors are going to speak differently and people are going to resonate differently because of the words. And I find that very true with teachers, with coaches. You have to find someone that resonates with you, right? There's hundreds, thousands of coaches out there, right? So how do you know to pick the right one? And you have to pick one where you can trust, right? The number one thing you're looking for is trust. And if you can say, okay, I can trust this person to a certain extent. I am going to follow this person. I'm going to, support this person, but there has to be trust there. And what I find when it comes to reading, right? Reading a book from a certain author, it could be authors, and you just resonate with that person, right? They're speaking your language. And that's what we're going to get into today. And we're going to get into one of the books I read in high school. I recommend this book to every high school person I see, right? I tell them hey, you want to start and figure out what you want to do with your life, this is the book that started it all for me. And I recommend this book highly to every college student. And that book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, right? Who is Robert Kiyosaki? Well, he's a very successful man right now. So let's look into him a little bit, because before I tell you about the book, let's find out about the man who wrote it. So Robert Kiyosaki, he is a entrepreneur, to say the least. And he is all about real estate. He is an author of several books, and one of his bestseller books, as you can see, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But why is this book so profound? Why is this book a number one seller? Why do I recommend this book for you to read? Well, there's a lesson in this book. This book has something to tell you to help wake you up before you're too late, or before it's too late and you're too old. Now, I'm not saying there's an age for you to be too old to start over, but if you can start earlier, you will be in a place so much quicker than if you started later. Talked about Colonel Sanders, 62, started the idea of KFC, 65. He created the franchise. He was at retirement age, but that didn't stop him. But Robert, he didn't want to wait until he was retirement age to be successful. He wanted to be successful at an early age. So what did he do? Right? Well, talking about his family and his life, his father was actually a teacher. He was an educated professor. And what you get from that is this guy is smart. Several degrees. I think he went all the way up to get his doctorate. And even though he went all the way up to get the doctorate, Robert didn't see him as being rich. Robert saw him as being poor. So we get into the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That means he had two fathers, right? Or at least two father figures, if we're reading the title correctly. And yeah, he had a mom, and his dad and the mom were married and everything. But that rich dad wasn't his biological dad. That rich dad was actually his friend's father. And his friend's father owned a construction company. Nothing lavish, right? He owned a construction company. And he worked hard every day. You can tell. His hands were not of those of a business person, of an accountant. They were of a hard laborer, a construction worker. And the difference between the two fathers is one kept pursuing education to get ahead, and one pursued a business. They created something. So starting from there, and this week has a similar trend from talking to, on Monday, we were talking about the prize of life. And the prize of life is, where do you want to be at the end, right? Where do you want to be when it's all said and done? You can finally kick up your feet and you can say, this is what I've done in my life. Where would you be? What would you have accomplished? And Robert, he noticed at an early age, he didn't want to be like his father. But shouldn't every young boy's hero be his father? Shouldn't every young boy aspire to be similar to like their father? But Robert saw something different. He saw the struggle his father had to deal with, right? He was always in a rat race, always trying to get ahead. But what that was doing was actually setting him back. So the father would go to school to get a higher degree so he can get a higher paycheck. And of course, he would have to put himself in debt in order to pay for the schooling. But in the father's eyes, in his real father's eyes, that didn't matter, because he was more concerned about getting the degree so that degree can increase his income. So the check he got every week was more. But did he really take home that increase? And the answer is no, he didn't. He had to pay all the loans back. The lifestyle he was living was always going up, because in his mind, oh, now I'm a professor at a college. Oh, now I'm a doctor. I have a doctorate. And his mindset's changed. His lifestyle also changed too. And when he did that, there was no more disposable income. So now he has to go back to school to get another degree, to get more education, get more certification, just to stay ahead. And Robert said, I don't want to live my life working paycheck to paycheck. So he decided to work for free for his friend's father. And he didn't do any like hard labor, right? Because he was underage, but he was doing like accounting stuff, like office work. And he never got a paycheck. That was one of the rules. The rich dad, or the construction worker's dad, or his friend's father told him. He agreed to have Robert work for him. And he said, I'm not going to pay you any money. You're going to work for free, because you shouldn't work for a paycheck. You should own something, an asset. And that started his empire. That started Robert's empire, because he went all the way up and didn't get a paycheck, and he kept learning from his rich dad, from his friend's father. And now he owns, I want to say billions, but if not billions, millions of dollars in real estate. He's very successful. And he teaches people how to also be successful in real estate. So this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, why is it my first pick? Why is it the first book I always recommend people to read, especially young people? And the reason why I prefer this book is because it shows you the end result. Begin with the end in mind. This is saying Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. So if he saw how his father was and he said, I don't want to end up like my father, guess what he's going to do? He's going to begin with the end in mind. So if he sees where his father is and he doesn't like it, why would he pursue his father's path? Right? Yet, he sees his friend's father having a business, and yes, in the business, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be a lot of hard work, but he's a millionaire. Even though he dresses in rags or ripped jeans and maybe dirty shirts, that didn't show his worth, because he was wealthy beyond what the eye could see. He didn't have to have a fancy car, a big house, fancy degrees. He said, I want something for myself where I can be self-sustaining and not have to work for a paycheck. Because when you're an entrepreneur, when you are a person who has their own business, their own company, own organization, and you are making it for profit, you have a choice to make a lot of money, break even, or let it fall. And in the first 5 years of a business, most businesses fail. Why? Everyone wants to be like the rich dad in the story and be successful and have all these assets and be millionaire and live happily ever after. But that's not the case. So how do we get there? That's where you have to put your focus. And going back to Monday again, the prize of life. Your whole entire life is an accumulation of what you're doing. So if you are wasting your time watching TV, maybe going out with friends, and you have nothing to show for it, why do you keep doing that? What are you doing to help you grow? What are you doing to help make your life better? And this is where a lot of people struggle, because they don't even understand. They don't even realize what they're doing. They don't realize that the time that they're using, the time they're wasting, they're not going to get that back. And this is where many people fall into the rat race. They work week to week to get a paycheck, and the paycheck pays their bills, right? For whatever type of living expenses they may have, rent, food, utilities. And if there's anything left over, maybe if they're a saver, they'll save a little bit. But maybe if they're a baller, they're going to go out on a night of drinking and partying and eating lavishly, all so they can feel better. Feel better to a certain extent, though. Because if you're going to think that eating fancy meals and drinking copious amounts of alcohol is going to make you feel better, then you have to start to rethink what feel better means. Is feel better a Band-Aid that's a temporary fix? Or is it something that's going to be long term? Because if it's a temporary fix, how are you going to feel better in a year? If you're going to keep doing the same thing and not have any results or not get any place where you want to be, how is that going to make you feel better? And this is where many people struggle. They fall into habits that are not conducive to a successful life, that are not conducive to promoting growth and who you are and who you can be. So with all that being said, if you can understand that the end is where you need to be, and you can say, this is what I want to be, right? That's where vision boards come in. That's where visualizing and imagination and saying, this is where I want to be. And maybe in the beginning, you don't believe it. Maybe you're like, oh, that's impossible for me. I can't do that. I can never reach that height in my life, right? It's just too much for me. And you're nervous and you're scared and you don't even know where to begin. So you say, you know what? I'm just not going to try. Because if I try and I fail, I will feel hurt. I will feel like a loser. I will feel like, why am I wasting my time on something that is so far from me? Well, there's a saying, you don't focus on how far you have left, you focus on how far you went. How far have you traveled? How old are you right now? 24, 30, maybe you're 50, right? It doesn't matter what age you are pertaining to your success, but look how many years you have behind you. And I have 18-year-olds, typically male, contact me. They say, hey, I'm afraid to fail. Tell me what to do. Now, of course, these young men don't have any money, but I'm not in the market of taking money from people who don't have money. I'm in the market of elevating people. I'm in the market of making sure you're going to reach a level of success because that is what you want. But some of those young men are lazy. They don't want to do the work. They like the idea of success. They like to dream of being successful and having all these fancy things in life. But the work is a huge deterrent. And it's a huge deterrent for many people, actually. How many times have you not done something because it was too difficult or it was too challenging or you failed 1, 2, 3 times? How many times does it take for you to fail to give up? You should know that number. If there is a number. Because if you can say that no matter how many times I fail, I'm going to keep getting up, then you're going to start to realize that success is eventually going to be yours. Where you want to be is going to start to become more attainable and more believable. Because if you can believe in yourself, then you're going to be able to achieve more. Most of these people who give themselves a dream, who give themselves a goal, are used to not pursuing it. I talk about this all the time. New Year's resolution. What does that do to you? Well, it's a form of failure. You say you're going to do something, but you don't do it. So what does that do? It shows you that, okay, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it and there's no consequences for my actions, nothing happened to me, so why do I continue to do it? And every year is the same. Until the day you die. So something has to change. Something has to change inside of you. Something has to click in your brain that says, enough's enough. And I'm not going to give myself any more room to sit around and be idle. So you have to get up. You have to create action. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad shows you of a young man seeing 2 adult males struggle differently. But the outcome, one had great success and one was successful according to society. He went to college. He has a high-paying job, fancy car, big house. That's what society says is success. But what is success to you? Success doesn't have to be fancy clothes and big houses and fast cars. How do you define success? And Robert did a really great job when he was young, realizing what success was for him. He realized where he wanted to be. He didn't want to work for a paycheck. He wanted to be his own boss. He wanted to own multiple assets, which he did, which was real estate. And then he became an author, which is another source of income. He does seminars, workshops. He does many things in his life right now. But Robert was not concerned about getting degrees. He wasn't concerned about big houses or all these lavish cars. And yes, he has nice things now. He can afford that as luxury. But he worked for it first. A lot of people want before they go out and they put in the work to get it. Right? You get what you deserve, not what you want. So yeah, he might have wanted a fast car. He might have wanted a big house, but he was more interested in creating a life that was far different than how his father was living. He didn't need to go to school and get all these degrees and be a doctor. And he could. He can go to school and get all these degrees now because he has disposable time. He has enough money to do whatever he wants. But he did that first. We have it backwards. My 80%, because we have our top 20%, they're making over it's around $100,000. Everyone else is making less than $100,000. My 80%, right? But it's usually like 88. But we're just going to round it up. So if you're making underneath $100,000, what are we doing? What are we doing wrong? Are we working for a paycheck? Do we not have ambitious goals? And I'm talking about gross. I'm not talking about net, right? So if your cash flow from five real estate properties is over $100,000, keep doing what you're doing. I'm talking about the people who are making average money. $50,000, $60,000, depending on where you live, is going to be different. So understanding that you need to reach that 100,000 mark, what can you do today, right? We know where we want to be. We know that, okay, my goal is to be this successful, right? To be this type of person. However, it's going to require me to do this, and that, and not do this, and that. Because understanding what's not productive is very important. A lot of people forget that. They want to do all the things that are right, yet they fail to do all the things that are wrong. The things that deter them, the things that hold them back. Having people in their life, their environment that doesn't serve them, slows them down. And you can only carry people for so long before you say that's enough. What are you going to do? Carry someone your whole life and expect for them when you need help? Oh, well, I helped you this whole time and they don't help you. How are you going to feel? Defeated? Betrayed? It happens all the time. Best buddies, best friends. Ride or die. Well, they left you to die. So you have to understand something. When you're going down the path to success, who's in front of you, you should be chasing. Saying, this is where I want to be. They're already ahead. What are they doing? Right? How far are they walking? How much work are they doing? I want to either be right up with them or I want to be ahead of them. And you double down and you do more than that person and you get ahead and you find another person who's ahead. And you keep going until you reach that level where you want to be. So success is not some unknown formula. Success can be copied from anyone. Look at where they were and see how they did it. And what I find with people, what I find with some clients is they're lazy. They want it, but they don't want it bad enough. And if you don't want it bad enough, how are you going to get it? So, understanding that little point, that you're looking at the end, not where you are per se, that's the first step. And Rich Dad tells you, this is where I want to be. And then it talks you through the process of how to get to where you want to be. So you can imagine how crucial or how important this book is. It's giving you the guide. This is where you want to be. This is how you get it. And you learn. And even though Robert's story is different than your story, right? It's going to be vastly different, right? Because you might not have a 2-parent household. You might not have an educated father. You might not have another person to look up to, a successful business person to look up to. But the best thing you have is the ability to gain more knowledge. And if you can say, these are the skills I need to become successful, right? Whatever type of career, whatever position you want to be at the end, that is what you need to work on. So for example, let's say you want to be a barber, right? And you can be a beautician, you can be a scientist, biologist, it doesn't matter, right? You can be whatever you want, but let's just say you want to be a barber. And you're a barber and you go to school, and before you know it, you can now cut hair. You are certified to cut hair. What's the next step? Do you just go to a salon, maybe rent a chair, and you start working? Yeah, okay. Make a little bit of money. But where do we go after that? How can we grow past a typical job of being a barber? Maybe you get some high-end clients. Maybe they want you to do their hair at their house, so now you're making a little bit more money. Okay, cool. What's next though? Right? Is it always working, or is it using your money and investing it in a way where your money works for you? And many people are forgetting about that. They think they have to work for money. And that's what Robert learned from his rich dad. Don't work for a paycheck. And if you do work for money, use that money and have it work for you. Don't be a slave to the money. You're not a slave. But why do we act like we're slaves to the money? Well, I can't go out this week. I have to wait for my paycheck. You have to wait for your paycheck. Why do you have to wait for it? You should be in charge of your money. You should be in charge of what you're doing. Oh, I can't afford this right now. Okay, well, what's the difference between you can't afford this right now and will you be able to afford it? Because if you know you're going to go out with friends and spend money you don't have, what's the point? Because next week you're going to be in the same predicament. That's why people dislike Mondays, because they spend all their money on the weekends. And they know they have to be there, because if they're not there, guess what? How are they going to pay their bills? How are they going to get food to eat? How are they going to sustain the life that they're living? So they have to work. Monday, I had so much fun on the weekend. Maybe you did nothing on the weekend. Maybe you just stayed home and relaxed, and That was your weekend. Maybe you didn't have money to go out. Maybe you don't have friends to go out. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing, but understand, if you can put off enjoyment now to a certain extent, I'm not saying you can't have a good time, but if you can put off doing all those things that can be put off, how much money do you save? And what do you do with that money? Are you saving it up to put a down payment on a home that's going to be a rental property that's going to create cash flow for your life? Or are you going to go out and you're going to buy the new iPhone when it launches? And if you're in a position to do that, where you can go out and you have enough disposable income to buy a phone and still have plenty to save and invest, you earn that luxury. Do it. But if you have it, why are you doing it? You don't need the latest and greatest to show the world that you have the latest and greatest. Nobody cares what you have. Nobody. If you're driving around in a Honda Civic down the highway, the person next to you is not going to say, "Ooh, you're driving in a Honda Civic." A to B. Where are you going? Can the car get you there? Yes or no? If it can't get you there, get a new car. But if it's doing its job, A to B, hold off. Use the money that you would be spending on car payments or a down payment and start thinking about investing it somewhere. I know cryptocurrency is really big right now. I know the real estate market is pretty hot right now. It's actually slowing down a little bit. Why? Why is the real estate market slowing down? Because the reason why the market went up so quickly was because there was not enough inventory of homes. And now the idea of people thinking for a second, like, oh, I can get $150,000 more than my home is worth. Now everyone's putting their home on the market. When there's an influx of homes on the market, the prices go back down. Scarcity mindset. When people were afraid there wasn't going to be enough home to go around, guess what they did? They purchased homes. Now there's enough homes to go around and people are like, I'm going to sell my house because I can get so much money. But now no one's buying because everyone who already needed to buy purchased. So who do you think is going to buy houses when they go back down? People like Robert. That's who. He's going to buy those houses for at cost or below. All those foreclosed homes that are going to be coming when the government stops doing the forbearance on mortgages. For all the people who realize that their home is worth this much because they bought it for that much, or have to pay property tax on that and they can't afford that. What are they going to do? The banks want their money. The banks are not in the business of losing money. They're in the business of making money. And they don't care how they do it. They don't care whose house they have to take. They'll take yours and grandma's at the same time. Oh, and if you're homeless, it's not a concern to them. Either find the money or get out. So people are putting themselves in situations where they may be cashing a check too early. The funds are not there in the account. So what needs to happen there is people need to rethink their plan. Owning a home is a liability. Yes, there is some equity that you create in a home, but if you're doing a 30-year fix, you're not going to see that for the first 8 to 10 years because you're paying off interest. Now, if you were able to pay 20% down and avoid MPI, and you pay off on a 15-year fix, you're going to be in a better situation. But many people don't know that. People want give me, give me, give me. And they don't do the work needed, the due diligence needed to make the right choices. And they put themselves in hot water. And they fall back down, rock bottom. And rock bottom sucks, but it's a wonderful place to build. Failure sucks, but it's going to be the greatest lessons that you'll ever learn. So what I do with people is I help people avoid constant failure, right? Some failure is good. We learned, now we can make the next move. Where do you want to be? What's the next move? And if you feel standoffish, if you feel like you don't want to do something, then you should maybe talk to someone. It could be a therapist, could be a coach, could be a good friend who's successful. Don't look for a peer if you want more. Find someone above, maybe your boss. Just talk to them. Ask them, how did they get to where they are right now? And just emulate that. Go through that process. And then start to create better for you. So there's a power when it comes to looking into the future. And I'm not talking about being psychic or being a fortune teller. I'm talking about identifying your goal, identifying who you want to be, identifying what your legacy should be when you're gone. And those simple areas, right? Those simple topics are enough to give you the spark in the direction needed for success and for growth. And I experienced that right before I quit teaching. I went to school, did exactly what I was supposed to. I got my bachelor's. Great. What's next? I need a master's. So I go out and get my master's because I needed it. And yes, the career I was going in, having a master's was preferred. I went to be a teacher. So they do recommend teachers have a master's degree. Some schools require you to have a master's degree. Now, the school that I was working for at the time did not require me to have a master's degree. It was just a pay increase. So I was going up all the way. And guess what I started to think? Even though I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, even though I knew about the rat race, even though I knew about working for a paycheck, what did I do? I went to college, got my master's, and I'm working now. So I'm working, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm getting money. I'm getting some money and saving money, right? To do things with it, right? Investing, whatever. But when I needed more money, right? Because the lifestyle I was living, the amount of bills I had, the only solution that I could come up with was, hey, I need more money. So what did I do? I started looking into school again. I said, you know what? I need to go back to school. I need to be a principal. I need to get a doctorate. I need to further my education so I can increase my income. Does it sound familiar? Sounds like the Poor Dad. Even though I knew that path, even though I knew what would be the outcome, it was something that felt like, oh, that makes the most sense to me. I should just do that. But there was no logic behind it. I was looking at the small picture when the bigger picture was right there all along. Because let's face it, people, if you had an easy assignment or a challenging assignment that would take weeks to accomplish, which one would you want to do? If someone asked you to move some furniture and they had a small chair and they had a big heavy sofa that weighed 500 pounds, which one would you offer to move? Typically, people are going to lean toward the easy path, the easy road. That's why they have that saying, travel the road less traveled. Because that road is typically overrun with weeds and bushes and shrubs. It's not easy to walk it. Well, guess what? Reaching success is not easy. It's not something you can say, hey, I want success and I'm going to accomplish it, and then it happens. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work and consistency and not giving up. Because if you start to go down that path, what is stopping you from continuing and finishing? And that's your mindset. And that's why I'm a mindset coach. Because I see a need in the world, not for successful people, but for someone to push regular people who are not in the top 20%. And I push them up there and I say, hey, you're not done yet. Push. There's no stopping. I understand you're tired, but it's not time to be tired. And Robert knew that. He knew when it was time to work, and he worked long hours. In his first, 18 years, he never worked for a paycheck. And then he worked for a company where he got his first paycheck. And then he started to save that money. And then he created his empire. Because if you're getting a paycheck, your goal should be trying not to get a paycheck. Especially from a company. If you own it and you're getting paid for your services, if you're rendering service to a business, you can consider that a paycheck, but your company's getting paid, not you. Your company pays you. And we're not going to get into taxes and everything because that's a whole different topic. But when your company gets hired, they pay your company, not you. Even if you're a sole proprietor, they're paying your company. And whatever money you take from your company, that's your paycheck. So the goal is when you're building and growing your company, you should take as little as possible. Yes, I understand you want a fast car, a big house, jewelry, clothes. It's nice to want those things. And you can have those things, but not immediately. So I work with some very wealthy people. And these people have millions of dollars. And they always talk about being in the red, right? So let's say their expenses are $8 million and they made $700 million or they made $7 million, right? So they are in the red $1 million. Can they afford to lose $1 million? Yes, they can. Oh, yeah. They can lose $1 million every single year and still have millions of dollars when they die. But their mind is saying, hey, I'm in the red. I need to fix something. Something's not right. Something's going wrong. What's going wrong in your life? What's causing you to be in the red? How can we get out of the red and get into the black? That little nugget, that little idea of understanding that if you're not living the life you want, if you don't have enough disposable income, if you can't pay your bills, you have credit cards that are loaded, if you have to take out loans just to pay rent, why are you in the red? And there's nothing wrong with admitting that's where you are. Because as soon as you can admit where you are, then we can start to find solutions. This is where I am. How do we get out? What do I need to do? It's math, people. If you are making so much money and your overhead is this much, either we need to lower your overhead or we need to find some other source of income. And yes, even if you work a 9 to 5, the day's not over. That was only 8 hours. You worked 8 hours. There's 16 hours left. Are you going to sleep 16 hours? Yeah, I understand. You got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to rest. Okay, cool. But you have some more time. Build an empire. Get a side hustle. Do some work on the side, a part-time job. Increase your income. Get out of the red. Get into the black. And then build up enough income, enough savings to use that to start a business. To start something that's going to elevate you, that's going to help you become better. And that's where a lot of people stop. Because it's too much work. They struggle to pay rent. How many landlords are waiting for rent? People stop paying rent. So if people stop paying rent because the government said that you don't have to pay rent anymore and your landlord can evict you, how many people have used that rent money for something productive? Maybe starting a business, maybe acquiring assets. What? Why do you think so many people are buying houses right now? For over their value, though. So even if they saved, let's say they saved $20,000. If you're buying a house for $50,000 over market value, you're not really making much on that home because that home value will correct itself. Home values correct themselves. So yeah, the market is hot right now. You can sell your home and you can make a quick buck and you can hold on to that quick buck and you can use it to purchase more property when the market goes back down. That's a smart move. However, now the market is becoming, again, it's starting to become saturated again with more homes. People are trying to sell because they're understanding that, hey, I can get this much more money for my home. Yeah, you can. But once that ship has sailed, home prices will be back to normal. And either you can buy a new home and then just take that earnings you have, maybe buy a rental property. Or you can say, all right, maybe now I'll give myself a little treat. But be very careful about what you give yourself if you don't have the assets and the cash flow to back it up. And that's why this book is so powerful. That's why I recommend this book to so many young people, because they can say, I want to be this person, not this person. If I ask you want chocolate or vanilla, ice cream people, if I say you want chocolate or vanilla, you know which one you want. You might be one of those people who like both. Well, guess what? You only have 2 options and you have to pick one. So when it comes to understanding sacrifice and what needs to be done now in order to have a better tomorrow, pick that. Pick that sacrifice. All right, I'm not going to go out with my friends today because I want to be successful tomorrow. And that successful doesn't mean that you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow. It just means you're one step closer. It means you have a little bit of energy because you went to bed on time. So you could be more productive in your day to accomplish more. Because every day you accomplish more, you get closer to where you need to be. And he talks about failure in the book. He talks about all these different things that young people are afraid of. Everyone's afraid to fail. Everyone's afraid to try. Some people are a little bit afraid to succeed because they don't know what that's going to bring them. But you can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to try. And you can't be afraid to be successful. You have to determine your life for yourself. And I recommend going out, getting your hands dirty, and you can learn the hard way, or you can have a mentor or coach, someone guiding you, leading you. And I understand when you're a teenager, it's very difficult to listen to someone who's older. Because when you're a teenager, you think you know it all. I was there. We were all teenagers before, and we all knew it all before. But there's a certain delight that comes when you don't know something. You don't know everything. There's always going to be something to learn. There's always going to be a teacher. There's always going to be a person that knows more than you do. And there's nothing wrong with having someone know more than you, because that gives you an opportunity to learn from them. It gives you an opportunity to grow, to aspire to be like someone else. Because if you don't have someone to look up to or something to look forward to, what's the point of even getting up? What's the point of even trying? And some people are at the point, if they fall over, they're like, well, whatever, I had a good run. And that's where they are. That's where their mindset is. And Robert doesn't allow failure, hardship, struggles to stop him. And he has a world beyond maybe he even thought was possible. But deep down, when I think about it, and even if you ask him, he knew he was going to be successful, but to what extent was a mystery, right? And if you can say to yourself, I know I'm going to be successful, but to what extent will that be? And again, success is defined by you. It's not defined by society, right? Your success can be having kids and living in a 500 square feet with maybe a garden in the back and a dog. And you are able to pay all your bills and that's it. That might be success for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because if you can identify what success is for you and you have it, good on you. Keep that success, attain that success. But if you want more, if you're not happy where you are, if you're dissatisfied with life, if you're living in poverty, living with nothing, accepting the scraps the world is throwing at you, and being disgusted at yourself for having to do so or needing to do so, then you can start to make the change. You can start to put in the work and realize you are the person who's responsible for you. You're the person who can create something or not create anything at all. The blame is going to be on you when you're old and decrepit and can't walk, can't think, you have Alzheimer's, whatever it be. The blame's on you. It's not on your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your cousin, your uncle, your aunt. It's not on them. So look in the mirror and take some accountability. And that's why I recommend that book. That's why I recommend Rich Dad, Poor Dad to be a book you read, to be a book you learn and decipher for all the lessons it has to teach you. Because it's not teaching you simply how to be successful. It's teaching you how to avoid the pitfalls of what people are doing that is causing them to be unsuccessful. And if you can learn how to be unsuccessful, then you can have some success in your life. So that's the spiel. That's going to be the book I recommend. The book I recommend for college students. If you haven't read it and you're an adult, I recommend that book, especially if you're starting off and you are unfamiliar with where you want to be in your life, right? So The Prize of Life, which we talked about on Monday, was talking about where do you want to be. And this book is a great example of someone looking at someone where they were already toward the end of their life or working in their midlife, and they said, I don't want that. And if you have someone like that in your life, whether it be a parent, a friend, a mentor, a colleague, look at them and ask yourself, do you want to be like this person? And if you don't want to be like that person, there's only one thing to do. Something different. More effort. Figure out a way to not end up like them. And it typically starts with hard work, being consistent, believing in yourself, having a plan, an action plan, and following it through to the T. And if you're terrible with accountability, it's time to hire a coach. It doesn't have to be me. It has to be someone that is going to say, we're going to push right here. I know you're tired. I know you're scared, but we're going. We're not stopping. You need someone in your corner who's going to believe in you when you don't have that type of belief, that's going to help you rise to the occasion. So find that person, whoever they may be. So again, my name is Michael Reven. I'm a mindset coach, and I help people with their mindsets. I help people overcome their limiting beliefs. I help them acquire mental fortitude, mental strength, and understanding that if something's impossible, you can prove that wrong. Just because it's impossible for someone else doesn't mean it's impossible for you. Don't allow someone else's ideals and ways of life to affect you, because what you can attain can be way more than what they can attain. The baton has been passed and you are now in the race. How far will you run? How fast will you run? Will you get first place? Will you fall? If you fall, do you get back up? The race is running. The race has started. And we have to keep on going. So strengthen your mind to become better, to become stronger. So for all of the people who are joining this video series is structured to be run by you, right? To be talked about what you need. So I have all these wonderful websites where you can go and acquire free information. You can ask questions, you can gain motivation, and you can get a lot of the things you need for that last little push that you need. So if you have Discord and you would like to follow me on Discord, right at the top left, follow me, ask me questions, pick my brain. Maybe you need a map to be created. I can start you on that. If you need a quick motivation boost, you want to read something, maybe you're on your phone and your phone is some reason attracting you to look at it. And it's like, look at me, don't look away. And you don't, and you hold it tighter. You raise the volume because you want it to reach your soul. Well, there we have YouTube. You can watch some of my video content and my last motivational series. So check that out. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and stay in the loop for all the wonderful things that are yet to come. And we have our Instagram, which is more motivational pictures. Sometimes I add a reel of my life, but that's hit or miss. The goal is motivation there. And you won't go far on that page without finding something that's going to resonate with you. And my Facebook is another form to contact me. I use it for pictures, I use it for blog posts, etc. Twitch, is one of the platforms I stream on. So if you're on Twitch, follow me on Twitch. And Twitter is the only political platform that I have where I'll talk about politics. about politics and about where the world is going, you don't have to follow me there. Right? That's just kind of how I vent. If you were also looking to ask me questions, you don't want to put it in Discord, you don't want to put it in any place for someone to see, maybe it's very private. So you can email me. This video series is called Coaching in Session. So you can email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. And if you have a question or a topic you would like me to talk about on the video series, please leave that in the email. I will definitely add that to the list of topics. And if it's an easy question that I can answer during the stream, I will. All right. So even in chat, if you're in chat and we're toward the end of chat, or if you just have a question about something I'm talking about, ask away. The purpose of this video series is to help people who have questions, to answer those questions, because we don't want you to stay where you are. We want you to get out of that mindset. We want you to get into a new mindset saying, all right, I'm now equipped to handle whatever the world has to give to, whatever the world has to throw at me, right? So stop taking what the world gives you and start requiring the world to give you something better, right? Start demanding better for yourself. Mondays, we'll be talking about blogs. Wednesdays, we'll be talking about a new book. And on Friday, we should be having a guest. So this Friday, the goal is to have a coach join me and to talk about their career, their path, their success, maybe even their failures. So you can understand the mindset it requires for success. Because I can talk all day about mindset, but when you start to see more people with that mindset, you're going to start adjusting. And I used this previously, but I'm going to keep on using it. Denzel Washington said, you hang around 9 broke people, you're going to be the 10th. But if you hang around 9 rich people, you're going to be the 10th. And the same is true with your mindset. If you hang around 9 negative people, you're going to be the 10th. But if you hang around 9 positive people, you will be the 10th. So the goal is to surround yourself with people who are going to help elevate you. And the more you elevate, the higher you're going to become in the person you need to be. So if you're down here on rock bottom, maybe level 1 starting off, and your goal is all the way to the top floor penthouse, it's possible, but it will require work. You can also check me out at revenconcepts.com. That is my personal coaching website. There you can catch every single one of my blogs. I have videos. I have ways to contact me to inquire about coaching. So whatever avenue, whatever you're looking for, I have links and I have ways that you can reach out and start to get the help you need. And it might not be a lot of work for you to get on the road to become more successful. It just might be one conversation. It might be one question. And I say one thing to you and it changes your whole entire life. That's what you're looking for. That's what this video series will accomplish. I'm going to say something that's going to resonate with you. A guest is going to say something that's going to resonate with you, and you're going to say, this is what I needed my whole entire life. And that is the key to the door that was locked. The door that is going to open your whole entire life for the better, hopefully. So again, email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. I stream live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mondays are talking about the blog of the week. Wednesdays are talking about the book of the week. And Fridays, we'll be having a guest that I interview. And you're allowed to ask questions to the guests also. But I do have a format that I would like to stick to initially. And if you have any questions that pertain to what they said or their reasoning, ask, because you might have those same ideas and that person has already accomplished them. Remember, we're looking at where we want to be. We're not looking to be embarrassed about where we are. We're looking to be excited to be where they are, or to be further than where they are. Because if you can surpass me, great, go for it. I'll give you a push, not off the cliff or anything, a push forward to success. And that's what you want. Find someone who's going to push you toward your best self. So that's going to be it for today. And I'm going to be back on Friday, back for another live session this Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join in, be excited for the guests that we're going to have, and come prepared with your questions. Come prepared with the things you may want to ask. Maybe you started thinking and you said, I have this question. I have this problem. I'm looking for a solution. And the coach this week is going to be a leadership coach, mindset coach, personal coach, general life coaching coach, right? Exactly. So it's going to deal with life. Similar to what I do, but I focus mostly on mindset. And it dabbles in other areas too. But any questions, again, email me, and I'll see you Friday. Until then.